You spent $118 on groceries? That's ridiculous. You don't earn anymore, you depend on me. Darren didn't shout, but the disgust in his voice cut deeper than volume ever could. He waved the receipt in my face like it was a court summons. I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, the steam from the coffee pot still curling in the air between us. I got what we needed, I said softly. You got name-brand shampoo? You got snacks for the kids that I didn't approve. You got candles, Mom. Are you lighting a shrine now? I didn't answer. He turned, yanked open the junk drawer, and pulled out a pair of scissors. I already knew what he was about to do before the first snip echoed in the kitchen. My debit card, the one I used for groceries. School supplies, small gifts they all watched as it split in half. Like paper. Learn to live without my money, he said, tossing the pieces toward me like trash. His wife, Caitlin, let out a small laugh. The kids froze. My granddaughter, Elise, lowered her spoon and looked at me wide-eyed. My grandson didn't even blink. I bent down and picked up the two halves. The edge of the plastic had sliced my finger just slightly, but I didn't flinch. I stood up, smoothed my skirt, and looked Darren in the eye. You'll wish I never learned I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam a door. I just left the room. That night, I didn't cook. I didn't fold the laundry Caitlin had left on the couch. I closed my door and turned off the light before 9. The silence after that cut deeper than any argument ever could. I moved into this house 2 years ago. Darren called it temporary, just until the restaurant stabilized, just until they could breathe a little. I signed over the check from the sale of my home without hesitation. No questions, no paperwork, just trust. They gave me the guest suite. It had good light of view of the backyard and a soft gray comforter I'd bought myself on sale. I remember thinking it would feel like a fresh start. A place where I could help raise my grandchildren and still have a room to call my own. Now that comforter is gone. This one's fluffier, Caitlin had said this morning, dropping a floral one on the bed. The gray clashes with the rest of the house. She didn't ask. I stared at the new pattern, loud and stiff like a hotel. I sat down slowly, the edges already tucking themselves in too tightly around me. Even the air felt different. I used to bake muffins every Tuesday. Elise loved blueberry. The kitchen calendar still has my handwriting on it. Chicken casserole piano lesson library pickup. But lately, I've noticed the pen marks are fainter. Someone replaced my notes with printed meal plans and apps. I still cook. I still shop. I still pay. Every grocery run, every field trip envelope, every birthday gift I paid with that card. Not Darren's. Mine. The one I funded slowly, quietly, from what I had left. He never asked where the money came from. Just assumed it came from him. Now that card is in 2 pieces in my drawer, next to the notebook. I hear Darren and Caitlin laughing downstairs, something about a delivery order. The kids are playing a video game, their voices rising and falling. No one knocks on my door. I lie back against the new comforter and stare at the ceiling, the same one I helped pay for when we remodeled the house. They don't see it, but I remember the day the contractor handed me the invoice and I wrote the check from my own account. It was the same day Darren added my name to his business registry. Darren was 8 when his father died. A rainy Thursday. I remember the smell of wet pavement on my coat when the officer came to the door. After the funeral, I sold the car. Took a second job at the dry cleaners down the block. Nights, weekends, holidays, whenever they'd have me. I stopped buying myself anything new. Wore the same coat for 3 winters. Cut my own hair in the bathroom mirror. He wanted to play soccer, so I cleaned offices after my shift to afford the cleats. We never went on vacation. I told him we didn't need sand and sun to have memories. So we made forts out of couch cushions and watched late-night movies with buttered popcorn in mismatched bowls. When it was time for college, the tuition letter came. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Then I walked to the pawn shop with my wedding band in my pocket, gold with a tiny diamond chip. Not worth much, but enough to start. Later, I cashed out part of my retirement. Penalties and all. Just to make the gap. He never asked how I managed. He just said, "Thanks, Mom," tossed the envelope in his backpack and left for orientation. Years later, when he wanted to open the restaurant, I emptied the savings jar labeled Florida. It was meant for a little condo near the water. I'd been dreaming of it since my knees started aching. I never told him. I just handed him the check and smiled. And now, after all that, he stands in the kitchen of a house I helped him buy and tells me I owe him rent, as if the bed he sleeps in wasn't built on every quiet. No, I told myself, as if the life he has didn't come from the years I gave away without question. He doesn't remember, but I do. And that's why tonight I pull the shoebox from under my bed and open it to the first page of the notebook inside. The notebook is old, worn at the edges, pages soft from use. It's where I kept everything no one ever asked about. Account numbers, routing info passwords I updated every 6 months out of habit. Darren never noticed me writing in it. I doubt he even remembers the day he handed me the LLC paperwork to sign. I was the co-signer. Just a formality, he'd said. That formality meant I was listed on the business account. And that meant I had a card too. One he never activated. But I did. Quietly. Carefully. I reach into the shoebox, pull out the slim envelope, and slide the card out. It still works. I checked a month ago out of curiosity. But now I check for something else. I log in. His restaurant account is flush. More than I expected, considering how often he says, "We're tight this month." Maybe Caitlin's new furniture didn't come from her side of the family, after all. I switch tabs. My savings account appears quiet and untouched. I built it out of grocery change and freelance bookkeeping for small businesses that paid in cash. Birthday checks I never spent. Holiday bonuses, I told them, were smaller than they were. 92,470. 18. I stare at the number. It took me 5 years. A few dollars here, a quiet sacrifice there. I never told Darren about it. Not because I meant to hide, but because he never thought to ask. I think of how he looked at me yesterday, like I was a burden to carry, like I hadn't already carried him farther than he knew. I close the notebook, slide the card back into its envelope, and place both on the nightstand. The rest of the house is quiet. I hear a drawer slam shut. Caitlin complaining about a missing receipt. I already know what she's looking for, because that receipt, along with the others, is filed neatly in a folder marked Business Discrepancies, right under the letter I started drafting 3 months ago. It started with a restaurant invoice that didn't match the receipt. Just a few dollars off. But I've spent a lifetime balancing columns and chasing decimal points. I know when numbers hide something. I opened Darren's business portal. My login still works. He never removed me. Probably forgot I had access at all. Or maybe he assumed I wouldn't know how to use it. He forgets who did his books the first year he opened, who taught him about vendor terms and quarterly filings, who kept the IRS off his back while he figured out how to boil pasta without setting off the alarm. I downloaded 3 months of transactions, then 6, then a year. And there it was. Quiet little transfers, all labeled vaguely consulting fees, cash offset, payroll hold. But the routing numbers didn't match the payroll vendor. They matched a different account. One not tied to the business, one not disclosed anywhere. A personal account in Darren's name. He's been pulling money from the restaurant under my name, too, and funneling it somewhere I wasn't supposed to see. The same man who cut up my grocery card. The same man who calls me a burden in my own grandson's house. The same man who told me I should be grateful I still have a roof over my head. I open the old file drawer beneath my nightstand. The paperwork is still there, yellowing at the corners. My name printed beside his, listed as financial officer. a clause tucked in the back page. Power of attorney signed, notarized, witnessed. Just in case, he'd said, emergencies only. He thinks the emergency is me, but it isn't. He's the one drawing from a pot I helped fill while pretending I have no place at the table. I close the folder, but leave it on my desk this time. Tomorrow, I'm meeting someone, an old friend, who taught me everything I know about tracing assets and cleaning up other people's messes. I didn't do anything that morning, not yet. I made my coffee, buttered 2 slices of toast, and left a Post-it on the fridge like always. Dinner's in the oven. Just needs 10 minutes. Darren didn't say thank you. Caitlin didn't even look up. That evening, I heard them whispering in the hallway while I rinsed the dishes. She's still here, Caitlin hissed louder than she thought. Why we don't need her anymore. She's not costing us anything, Darren muttered back. No, but she's taking up space. Emotional space. You know what I mean. I didn't turn around. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and opened the dishwasher. Inside, their wine glasses were crusted with red, from a bottle I didn't recognize. One of the expensive ones they keep for company. Later that night, Elise came into the kitchen with swollen eyes. She curled onto the stool by the counter. I poured her some warm milk and sat beside her. They canceled my piano lessons, she whispered. They said things are tight. I nodded and rubbed her back, biting my tongue. I remembered Darren's new golf clubs, the catered brunch from the weekend, Caitlin's spa appointment scheduled for next Friday. When Elise went to bed, I walked slowly to my room. I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I just sat on the edge of the bed and opened the bottom drawer. Inside was the manila envelope. The LLC documents were all there, dated, notarized, signed. My name beside his. Equal owner. Darren had written temporary across the margin in blue ink. Just until he got the business off the ground. That was 5 years ago. I stared at the paperwork, then pulled out a pen and made a small underline beneath one line. Either party may execute decisions independently in the event of mismanagement or breach of trust. I closed the envelope. The line hadn't been crossed, but I could see it now, right in front of me, closer than it had ever been. I met Georgia at the same cafe we used to sneak into after budget committee meetings, back when the city still printed everything on paper and the numbers came with dust. She was already there when I arrived, her hair pulled into the same no-nonsense bun I remembered. The coffee between us steamed while she flipped through the folder. I brought printouts, screenshots, and notes in my neat, looping script. I'm impressed, she said, setting it down. You could still audit a state budget blindfolded. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. It's easier to track money than emotion. She leaned in. Marcella, you know you can lock him out of the business account today. You have the authority. The paperwork is solid. I didn't flinch. I know. Georgia studied me. Then why haven't you? I wanted to be sure, I said, that I wasn't acting out of anger. Are you? No, I said quietly. I'm acting because I've been erased. That night, back home, I pulled the stationery box from my closet shelf, the same one I used when I wrote letters to Darren at summer camp. Back then, I included stickers and riddles and hand-drawn smiley faces. Tonight, I wrote in plain black ink on cream paper. No flourish, no emotion, just facts. The amount I put toward his tuition, the value of my house sale, every contribution I made to the restaurant's startup cash credit silent labor, every grocery trip utility bill and emergency run to pick up one of the kids from school while they worked late. I wrote the final paragraph slowly. Carefully, I was never your dependent. You were mine for longer than you'll ever admit. You told me to live without your money. So I did. And now I'm taking mine with me. I folded the letter in thirds, placed it in an envelope, and sealed it. I slipped it into my purse and placed my checkbook beside it. Tomorrow, I'd make one call. Just one. and everything after that would change. Darren swiped his business card at the supply store like he always did, casual, one hand in his pocket, already halfway through a phone call with his vendor. Declined. He paused, frowned, and tried again. Declined. He stepped aside and called the bank from the parking lot, pacing in front of the cart return. "This is Darren Quinn. My card's not working. What's going on?" There was a pause, then typing on the other end. "Sir, your access to the business account was revoked this morning by the co-owner." "The what?" "She can't do that." "She can," the voice said flatly. "Her name is on the account. All actions are within her legal rights." He didn't even end the call properly. Just cursed and hung up. By the time he got home, his face was red and tight jaw clenched. He slammed the front door behind him, called my name once, then again. No answer. The kitchen was empty except for a single envelope on the counter. My card, the one he'd cut, lay beneath it like a quiet signature. He opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside, itemized receipts, photocopies of tax records, bank statements, LLC paperwork, with both our names in bold, highlighted totals, dates, signatures, and one note at the bottom, printed in clear block letters. "You told me to live without your money, so I've stopped funding your life." He didn't flip the page. He didn't need to. It said enough. Upstairs, Elise was practicing scales on her keyboard. Caitlin was in the laundry room complaining to someone on the phone. Darren stood in the middle of his kitchen with a letter that told the truth, louder than he ever let me speak. He didn't know where I'd gone. And I didn't plan on telling him, at least not yet. By then I was already 2 towns away, unlocking the door to a small rental unit with my name on every document. The apartment is smaller than I'm used to. 1 bedroom, tiny kitchen, old carpet, with a stubborn ripple in the hallway. But the key turns easily in the lock, and no one questions where I'm going or when I'll be back. I plug in the coffee maker and set a clean mug on the counter. It's mine. Bought it myself from the second-hand shop down the street. Pale green with a small chip on the handle. I like it better than any of the ones at Darren's house. The silence here is different, not tight or cold. Just still. I sit at the little table and sip coffee while the late morning sun slips across the floor. I don't rush. I don't brace for footsteps. My phone lights up once. Darren. No voicemail. I let it ring out. 1 week later, a small envelope slides under my door. It's addressed in Elise's handwriting. Inside is a folded sheet of notebook paper with 1 sentence written in pink gel pen. "I miss your pancakes. That's all. No drama, no guilt, just truth, clean and quiet." I sit for a moment, then open the kitchen drawer where I keep the recipe cards. I find the one with the oil stain in the corner, the one that always made her smile. I flip it over and write whisk gently. Don't overmix. Let the batter rest. Add joy, if possible. Then I sign it. Love always. But not at any cost. Grandma. I slip it into an envelope and walk it to the mailbox. That night, I light a candle on the counter. Not for decoration, not to impress anyone, just because I like the scent of cinnamon. I eat dinner at the little table and don't glance at the clock once. The TV stays off. The door stays locked. And when I pull the comforter over me, the one I chose myself, I sleep without listening for voices on the other side of the wall. 6 months have passed. The library smells like old pages and quiet promises. Every Thursday at 3 p.m., I take a seat at the front of the small community room, open my folder, and greet a half-dozen women who've started bringing their own notebooks and highlighters. They ask about savings accounts, credit unions, budgeting apps. But eventually, they ask about something else: how to set boundaries, how to say no to the people they love, how to stop apologizing for keeping something for themselves. I don't tell them everything, but I tell them enough. I tell them it's okay to keep a second account, that groceries and affection should never be currency in someone else's control, That independence isn't a rebellion, it's protection. They nod like they've been waiting to hear it for years. Back in Savannah, Darren's restaurant is still open, but I hear from Georgia that he had to downsize, cut costs, start doing his own bookkeeping. He never called again. Not to explain, not to ask, not even to shout. I stopped waiting. My phone no longer holds space for his silence. But a few days ago, Elise sent me a picture of her pancakes. The caption read, "Still a little lumpy, but I'm learning." I smiled, then opened my will. I'd updated most of it already, nothing dramatic. The rental is now mine. The business share was quietly removed from Darren's name, sold off legally through the rights he forgot I had. But I left one thing for Elise, a small savings account. Just enough to give her a start, with one condition: only if she learns the value of independence. I signed the page, closed the folder, and placed it back in my drawer. Legacy isn't just what you give. Sometimes it's what you refuse to lose. And for the first time in a long time, I brewed a second cup of coffee just because I could.